I'm smarter than you, Ricky. Back in school, there was this one kid in my class who always had to be the center of attention. His name was Ricky. There's always a Ricky. One afternoon in English class, Ricky was sat behind me. Ricky wasn't exactly academically inclined, and so on this afternoon, Ricky had decided that his entertainment was going to consist of him kicking the back of my chair at random intervals. I just ignored it for a while, but near the end of the lesson, my patience finally snapped, and I turned around and gave Ricky the middle finger. Immediately, Ricky started pointing at me and yelling at our teacher. Sir, he swore at me. He swore at me. Now, there's two things you need to know. Firstly, this was a Christian school in the mid-1990s. Swearing was a big deal. Secondly, in the UK, there used to be two different ways of giving the finger. One was the middle finger, and the other was raising the index finger as well in a V shape. Anyway, the teacher comes over to investigate Ricky's yelling. He looks over at me, and I immediately deny everything. The teacher sighs and asks me to follow him out of the room. Once in the hallway, he turns to me and asks again if I swore at Ricky. I continue my denials. Then he says, "Okay, but if you were going to give somebody the finger, how would you do it?" "Well, sir, I don't really know." "Teen," I reply, "please note at this point that butter wouldn't melt in my lying mouth. But if I was forced to, I guess." At this point, I reluctantly perform the two-fingered version for my teacher. Please note, this is not the one-fingered version I'd actually used. The teacher nods and sends me back into the classroom before calling Ricky out instead. I didn't get to hear that conversation, but I can only assume that Ricky was asked to describe how. I gave him the middle finger and that his answer was inconsistent with my own. After a couple of minutes, an extremely unhappy Ricky was forced to come back into the class and apologize to both myself and the whole class for causing disruption. How I managed to keep the smirk of my face, I'll never know. Relevant comments, clever teacher, absolutely true. Many years ago, I worked in an elementary school library, and right beside the library was a classroom with an adjoining door. I heard a commotion and went to see what was going on, and there were two boys fighting, one clearly winning. The losing fighter was a known bully. The teacher saw me in the doorway and went over to the fighters and made them stop. He took his time breaking it up, is all I will say. Similarly, many years ago in summer school, I was the subject of some verbal bullying, which rarely bothered me. One of the group decided to escalate and put hands on me. What the group learned that day is that I wasn't bothered because I could and would defend myself. I physically threw my assailant across the corridor into a wall, right in front of our teacher. He turned around and walked back into the classroom after nodding at me. In our school, the biggest bully was the principal's son. Unfortunately for him, he was an average-sized kid. The biggest kid in the class was a really nice guy and didn't like the bully. One day, the bully was harassing one of the tiniest girls in our class. The big guy walked over, grabbed the bully by his neck and the waistband of his trousers, and threw the bully out the open door. The bully flew over the walkway and hit the asphalt on the other side, just missing the lawn. He got a lot of scrapes and road rash, then ran off to daddy. When the principal came to investigate, nobody had a clue what he was asking about. Very true. In high school, I was teased constantly by a kid. He'd call me all kinds of names and follow me around. Eventually, I had enough. I told him exactly what I thought of him, curses included. Something about him being an irredeemable asswipe, and his mama would be ashamed to see his actions. Teacher was there, heard every word. The bully got a 3-day suspension for cussing. I didn't even get a verbal warning.
Support me by following and subscribing. Thanks.